Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on with our webinar today. I promised it would be quick, and I'm going to keep my word here. We are getting ready to release a handful of new features next week at NAPE. So if you're going to be in Houston next week, come on by. If you haven't gotten an invite from us, come check out our happy hour, come check out our booth. We'll be happy to walk through some of these features that we're rolling out and kind of talking about all the great things we're doing at WellDatabase. To help kind of push the envelope on technology and move things forward. So again, I promised I'd make this quick, and I will. So this will be high level. We won't get into a ton of details or anything like that. So if you want to know more, swing by our booth, come check us out, and we will give you the details. And then furthermore, later on, we'll be following up with a more in-depth webinar of all of these, of our data sets and Welly, our AI tool. And so, yeah, let's hop right into the platform and start creating some data sets here. What I have up here is just our generic, I'm zoomed into the Bakken area. We're just looking at our map. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and create a new data set. So when I click create, now it's going to bring me, I get to give a name. Now, data sets at a high level are just where you can bring in your proprietary data and mix it in with the public data. That's at the highest level, what we're talking about here. But as we step through this, let's talk about the details of it. So I'm just going to call this webinar data set. And then I'm going to create this one. Now, when you create a data set, you can have multiple data sets. It can be different types of data set. Within each data set can have multiple tables that you're attaching to it and things like that. And again, this is all meant to be proprietary data that then you can mix in with the public data to give some better insights to what you're looking for. So the first step we're going to do, this is kind of the wizard for getting started from scratch. You can come and just pick a CSV file, for example, I have here. This is a randomly generated data set that has a list of API numbers, some kind of mineral ownership data. And so it's a great example of what you might do with it. So we can see we have 32 columns, 128 rows. When I hit next, it's going to give me a list of all of the columns. Now, I can check and uncheck these if I don't want to bring everything in. I can tweak the type of data it is and that kind of thing. But kind of quick view, you have some NRIs here, some production numbers. I'm just going to go ahead and grab everything for the purposes of this webinar. And now we get to the well match. So this is really imperative. If you want to compare your private data with the public data, you're really going to need to get in here and make sure you match them up to the individual, the records to the well. So the source column here, you'll see that we have an API number field, which is great. And then right now we can choose from all of our API fields. We'll be expanding this list so you can do additional matching on it. Now, for the record, I know this will not work. And so I'm going to do it just to show you what happens in case you come in here and you attempt to match up API numbers where they don't exactly match up. I know this won't work because the data that I created here had a 10-digit API number. This is Colorado-based data, which works on a 14-digit API. And so now we see where it doesn't match. But no worries, because I can come and say, let's just match it on the 10-digit. And then it'll come back through and we'll rematch this. So it's a nice way to get a little bit of feedback to make sure you're not throwing this data in blindly. Because at the end of the day, if this data just sits there and isn't tied to the public data, that's not really the usefulness we're looking for here. So we can see we had our rows, they matched up, everything matched, no unmatched rows. So we can just hit next. Now, remember, I'm uploading a new type of data. WellDatabase doesn't know anything about this, so I got to give it a name. I'm just going to call it mineral interest. And I should learn how to spell. And you can give it a description. I'll just skip this for now, and I'll hit finish. Now, we're uploading a fair amount of data in here. This one's relatively small, but all of these jobs will be sent into a queue, and this queue will then go through and process this. And this is an important point that I want to go ahead while this is processing to touch on. Data security is the utmost importance here. We are not the first ones to allow private data to be put into systems, but the constant feedback that I've heard is that no one really trusts what you're doing with this data. And I'm right there with you. I completely agree. And so when we set out to do this in the beginning, we thought, what's the how can we put these things siloed so far apart yet still make them useful? And so what we have is a creative system, and this queue that's running right now is going through and it's creating a Snowflake account, a Snowflake instance. We use Snowflake by default because it's got end-to-end encryption, which is great to make sure that every ounce of data that you drop in here is encrypted. It's not going to be able to be pulled into anyone else's set. And then furthermore, from our standpoint, the WellDatabase data is sitting on one side and the Snowflake data is on another. And so what we have is kind of a service that calls into the Snowflake data and returns the results. And then we take the WellDatabase data and tie them together and present them down there. And it may seem like that doesn't matter so much to some people, but we were just really wanted our end users to know that the data you put in here is not going to be used accidentally in our public data. It's not going to be exposed to other users. It's never going to be used in any of our training models or anything that we're doing. It is private data, and we are very stringent on that particular fact. So let's hop back over here. And because this is a quick demo and I don't want to sit here and wait and see what happens, I am going to look in my data set, and I've loaded these data, this data set into this Colorado Minerals project. And so the first thing you see here is that under just right within the data set itself, you can do some quick charting here. I just quickly said, what's my NRI by operator? I can say what my Niobrara working interest by operator is going to be, and they'll break all these things down. So again, this is just a cute way of visualizing some of the data, but the real magic happens when we come over to WellDatabase, and up at the top here, you can see data source. Now, most people will always be working with public, but for this process, when we created this, it's the Colorado Minerals. So this is the exact same data set that I'd uploaded earlier. And you'll see here, all of your filters are still here. Everything you would use on the public data set is here. But now we have data set filters. And that was something I kind of glossed over. But if you come into the data types, let's come into this. Well, we can do this here as well. And we go and we edit this, then you'll see that every column is listed here. I can give it a different clean name. I can mark it as filterable. I can hide or show it. I can say it has multiple, so it can be a one-to-many relationship. So there's lots of ways of customizing the access. And then once you do, you've got all of your data set filters here. You can filter on your Codel working interest volumes here. You can start selecting it in your list. You can do it in your charts and things like that. And so it automatically just falls right in. And so again, I know this is supposed to be a very quick webinar, and I'm already running later than I thought. But let's jump over to one of my other data sets here. And I want to show you kind of a cool workflow that's another easy one to do. I'm going to jump into my Bakken Minerals data set, and I'll zoom to those results, and we can see this is from a deal that happened some time ago. This is the minerals, and I uploaded all of this. Now, the quick thing that people are always looking like, what am I missing when I have a list of check stubs and like, what wells am I not getting paid for? Well, if you come in here now, we take this and we convert it to a data layer. We'll just call these my wells. We'll go to the visualizations. We'll leave it as well spots, but we'll make it a solid color. And let me open up these three, and we will make the size bigger. All it's going to do is kind of create a halo effect around these wells and make it where it's easy to spot. And so I'll hit load on that, and we'll see pretty quickly that now we've got circles around each of them. So that's cool. Now that's loaded. I can flip back over to the public set here. I happen to have a shapefile of this acreage position here. So I'm going to import this as my shapefile. Go ahead and select my acreage positions here. Of course, you have to select each shape that you bring in, but that's nice if you want to exclude some. And right off the bat, I'm seeing something of interest here because I've got all of these wells. They're highlighted in black. These are ones I've been paid on, but I've got a few that I'm seeing that I have not been paid on. These ones look like they transverse the lease through the lateral, but they don't start or end in it. So perhaps there's something missing there. However, this is black and white, really quick, easy to see that I'm not being paid on everything. And if I click on any one of these well details, by the way, I'll also have the full state data, the public data that we pull in, and then you'll see down at the bottom, I have my Bakken mineral data with things like check detail information is one that I uploaded here where you can see all the various information for that, the even the deducts and the prices and all those things. So we're really working hard to combine all of these data points together. And again, this is meant to be a really quick pass, but you'll see that all of this ties in on our map, on our dashboards, on our lists, basically everywhere. So it really gives you the power to put these two pieces together. And the second half of a webinar, which is already running longer than I anticipated, I want to talk about one cool feature is our AI tool that we brought in. So we call it Welly. We've been working on it for some time. Let me refresh that there. So here's the thing. I asked this question. How many wells started producing in the Bakken since 2016? I went and asked ChatGPT. It says approximately 15,000 to 18,000 have started producing. I went and asked it to Google Gemini. It says approximately 8,500 to 9,000. I asked it to Claude. It says, where am I? 7,000 to 8,000. And I asked it to Copilot, and it said, I don't know. So that's great. So I'm going to copy this question here, and I'm going to come into WellDatabase. I'm going to make sure I reset everything here. I want to start from scratch. And then I'm just going to come into Welly, and I'm going to paste this question in and hit ask. Now, what Welly's going to do, this is another key point to keep in mind, because Welly will have the ability to interact with lots of types of data as you roll through. Let's see here. It's going to refine it by asking me. It will do this because we really ask really broad questions. So I'm just going to, it's asking if I want oil, gas, or all. I'm just going to say, give me every well. And so, but the key about this in our AI system is that it's not inspecting the data. It is taking the information and utilizing WellDatabase. Let's see here, particular area. Sorry, it's asking for more clarification than I expected. Bakken since 2016. As you guys know, this is kind of how you you deal with these AI tools sometimes. But again, it is not going in and inspecting data. It is not trying to go in and analyze your data. It is simply trying to break down your question and provide you the best visualization. And so it gives you a little bit of reasoning why it chose the filters it did, what it did. But if I just hit show me now, then we will see very quickly that it's 8,811 wells. And so this is really where we're lean on, is where all these other tools, and who got closest. So it's 8,811. ChatGPT said an insane number, so you lose. Gemini says 85 to 9,000. That's actually pretty good ballpark there. We went a little 7 to 8, so we were low on and Claude, and of course, Copilot didn't even try. But again, as opposed to just telling you the answer, we're showing you the answer. And that's really imperative here, because at the end of the day, like, how much time are you going to waste typing in these questions into these other tools? But ours just works differently. And this is it works with it has the conversation skills as well. And so conversation skills sessions that go on to, so you can say, show me a type curve for these wells. And so again, what it's doing is it just kind of going through all the different types of visualizations that WellDatabase has, and of course the filters and everything that are available to it. And so if I hit show me, it draws me right on type well. And so it really takes what can be a pretty complex system. You know, at the end of the day, WellDatabase does so much now. It's not just a black and white system that does little things. It actually, you know, it has a very involved sets of filters, visualizations, and all these things. And what it does, it just really simplifies that. It lowers the friction in getting started and understanding the full set of tools without having to know where every single button to click is. And so there are, I mean, literally hundreds of different things this can do for you. It can show you, you know, let's compare production between operators for these wells. Let's try that real quick. It can create projects for you. It can create exports for you. And so should you take like an M&A opportunity, you load in those wells, you come in and you say, create me a PhD win export. It'll boom, create you a PhD win export. We ask it to compare the production between these operators. What it just did is it dropped us on the production broken down by current operators. And now we are, again, not being told the answer, we're being shown the answer. And that's just really critical difference to how our approach is to many of the other ones. It's so much context that goes into these questions that we figured that what point is just to spit out an answer is worthless. We need to really kind of give the context within the, this particular system to allow you to really know what those answers are. And so, yeah, I told everybody I would make it quick, and I did. We're right at the 15-minute mark. I am happy to answer any questions if you want, but if not, no big deal. We'll have this out. You can download it. You can get the recording, and then just know we'll be hitting back up after NAPE to do individual kind of deep dives into data sets, into Welly, and then into some of the additional features that we've been adding, functionality with mapping. And then, Welly doesn't stop with what works within our system. We have an MCP server, which you can call into. We've integrated with other partners. And so there's just so much that we're doing to kind of push the envelope on the technology side and help unlock this public data that's been kind of challenging to get the insights out of from some of the systems out there. So, yeah, if there are not any questions out there, then that is all we had to run over today. Like I said, come back and visit us at NAPE. If you'll be in Houston, give us a shout if you want to come over, and we'll give you an invite to our happy hour that we're hosting with Collide and Midnight Marketing. And then, yeah, we'll be looking forward to showing you guys more. Thank you very much for attending, and we'll talk to you guys soon.